be careful of people who become victims of circumstances that they create.
Sometimes the very worst circumstances that people find themselves in is self-fulfilled, it's self-created, it's from something that they started, or if we're talking about personally, something that I started or that you started. When this happens, it's even more painful when you recognize it. When you see somebody else creating their worst fear, making circumstances that emanate from them that are not for their best interest. You have two choices. You could either give them support from afar. Support meaning give them guidance when they have certain insights that might help them see the light, see the truth, the universal truth, I guess. If they're stuck, maybe you can go and give them that support. You can't fix it for them, but you can give them that support. Or you can just let them go, cut them out of your life. Let the natural process go. There's something romantic and beautiful, romantic in a traditional sense, not in the intimate sense, about the second path. Because when people are in that situation, they've essentially already decided their path. And in that case, you allowing them to go on their path is the natural, hence the word nature, way of things. You couldn't do something about it anyway. And in some cases, interfering with whatever process people are conjuring up, that not only isn't necessarily going to stop them from their self-destructive path, it might destroy you in the process. Oftentimes, it's not worth it. Your best day is not your measurement. It's not the time where you want to take account for things. If you have a wonderful time with your girlfriend or boyfriend, whatever circumstances may be, and you guys have one of the best days ever, that is not the moment to say, I think this person's the one. Let me get the engagement ring. If you get 1 million in 2 contracts for this new thing that you're building, you're like, this is time to go all in. Might not be. The best day should not be the measurement of your commitment, personally, professionally, across the board. What should be the measurement? The measurement should be over time. Could be a short period of time, could be a long period of time, but there has to be a period of time. There has to be a period of time. That's why we have terms like beginner's luck. I'm from Atlantic City. I live here in Vegas. Beginner's luck is always a discussion. That's why we talk about having money for a rainy day, et cetera, et cetera. That's why those sayings exist. They exist because your perfect day, your best day, is not indicative of it. When you invest in things, when the stock market or maybe crypto, but they don't talk about it as much. But when you talk about traditional investment, what do they say when you're about to invest in something? They say, to paraphrase, past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. In other words, if we had a great time this past year, things are up 5 million%. There's no guarantee that in the next heartbeat, when you decide to invest, that things aren't going to tank. That's not pessimism, that's just life. It's a matter of odds. If you want to think with a gambling theme, it's like rolling the dice or pulling a card. Eventually, you're going to get a joker. Eventually, you're going to crap out. Those are just odds. It's just science. So if you're making a major decision right now and you're having a great time with whatever you're dealing with and it feels good, see if that matches a little bit over time. Because over time, that's going to reveal the truth. And you don't want to bet the bank, go against the house when everything is perfect. You want to give opportunity to see what things are like in a full rotation around the sun. So one of my favorite sayings is begin with the end in mind. Now, I know it from Stephen A. Covey, rest in peace. His son, who has the same name, different middle name, is still running the business. But the original Stephen A. Covey passed away. I believe it's A. But rest in peace to him. But he talked about that way back in the day when I was a kid. If you begin with the end in mind, then that means you already have a vision, number one, of where you want to be. And number two, if you have a vision of where you want to be, then you're reverse engineering to where you are now. You're going from, instead of A to B, you're going from B to A. And for some reason with our brain, I don't know. I love science. I love neuroscience. I have a lot of neuroscience friends, people who study that. I don't know. Maybe you guys know. You can jump into the comments. But for some reason, us working backwards tends to work easier. And I think part of it is because we actually have faith that it actually exists. If I say I want to be a millionaire in the year such and such, and I start working backwards from there, there's a beautiful assumption there. It takes off the table that it's not going to happen. It assumes that it is going to happen. So now it's a matter of reverse engineering it. In other words, it's making sure in our brain that we understand that it's possible. Working backwards does that. Everything I've achieved, it's come from working backwards. But that requires that first step of knowing exactly what the hell you want. So figure out what you want. No holds barred. Then put a deadline on it. Put a lead on it. Say 5 years, say 10 years. And then work backwards from there. You might be amazed at the results. I have a few pet peeves, more than a few, but I don't think more than the average person. And most of them have to do with the conversations I have with people that I coach. I've been a business coach for a little while now and have probably coached people unofficially for years before that. And it's this concept, this belief that things are going to get easier. Once we get started, it'll get easier. Once we do this, it'll get easier. All we need to do is get this round of funding, get my kids into school, work this one kink out, and then everything will be lovely. That's not how it works. That's not what I found with my startups as well as with my other businesses. That's not what I found for the hundreds of people that I've coached thus far. It doesn't work like that. Instead, there's other mountains to climb. There's other ideas to explore. There's other challenges, right? Even if you won the lottery, there's some issues that come with that, right? My point is this. Don't bank on things getting easier. To paraphrase one of my favorite speakers, Jim Rohn, R-O-H-N, you should look him up. To paraphrase him, don't wish for things to get easier. Wish for you to be stronger. And in fact, it's not even a wish. And it's not even something you should aim for. It's something that's required. Because eventually you're going to build up that startup and eventually you're going to sell that startup. Eventually the kids are going to be in school. Eventually you're going to hit that financial milestone. And then there's going to be other stuff. I'm not saying there's going to be more problems or that things are going to be worse. But don't bank on things being easier. Why don't you work on yourself getting stronger? And then once you get stronger, if things get easier, then that's a beautiful byproduct. And either way, you'll be stronger in the next day anyway. Win-win.